Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 40 of Be With Me. We're following Jesus along a chronological walk through the Bible and through the great week and through the great day. And we are on the morning of Good Friday. Jesus has been all night long in various Jewish trials, one with Ananias and then Caiaphas and then the Sanhedrin. So he's been through basically three interrogations through the Jews. They've made him guilty and are sending him to Pilate now, to the official Romans. So the time is early on Friday morning. That is Good Friday. This is from John chapter 18. It's in all the Gospels, but we're just going to read it out of John 18, verse 28. Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters. It was early morning, Friday, Good Friday. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters so that they would not be defiled, but could eat the Passover. The Passover is going to be eaten later that day. They're very aware of that. So Pilate, watch this part. He goes outside and then he goes inside after a while, which is cool. So Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusations do you bring against this man?" They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." So it's like the Jews don't even want to talk about it. He's already signed, sealed, and delivered, convicted, and you just kill him. Don't even ask a question about it. Pilate said to him, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." The Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." As if, so they're trying to hey, we're just being good citizens here. This was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken to show by what kind of death he was going to die. Just parentheses, Jesus 7 times earlier in the Gospels predicts and prophesies what kind of death he's going to die. He's going to be lifted up, going to draw all men to himself. He's going to be crucified. So this is no surprise that the Jews are going to hand him over to the Roman authorities, and he's going to die a Roman death, if you will. All right, verse 33. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" So pay attention what happens here. He was outside, and then he's going to go inside. So inside, no Jews are going to go so they don't get defiled. So inside, we find Pilate having a private interaction with Jesus. And he asks him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Great question. Jesus asks even a greater question back, of course. Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" In other words, Jesus is asking, are you asking me in a professional capacity, or are you asking me in a personal capacity? Do you say this of your own accord? Is this really a question from you where you're wrestling with, am I who I say I am? Am I the king of the Jews? Or are we just playing ball from a distance, and this is what the Jews say about me, and you're just holding this at arm's length? So it's a great question from Jesus. I'm going to say it again. Do you say this of your own accord? Are you the king of the Jews? Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me? Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." So Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Again, back to this kingdom idea. Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth." New topic. "Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." And Pilate says to him, "What is truth?" So what touched me today was this is a private interaction of Pilate with Jesus. And he asks him, who are we talking about here? Are we talking about your role as Pilate, or your role as a person who is wrestling with the kingship of Jesus? And Pilate is a very expedient person. He even says at the end, what is truth? In other words, it's a very convenient standard to have, that there is no standard, because then you can pretend to live in your own reality, and morality and justice is of your own making. So the truth part about this is Pilate clearly does not want justice. In another one of the Gospels, same account, he actually says, I find no guilt in this man. So if he wanted justice, he should have just let him go right then and there. But this is not about justice. This is like so many legal systems. It's about getting what I want, even in the so-called justice system of America. Sorry for you lawyers in the audience. All right, so a couple of conclusions here. I think that we should be people of the truth. And what that means is that we are supposed to be agreeing with God and listening to his voice. And then if we get to be like Pilate, where we actually find a difficult question, a challenging question, and we're wrestling with it. In other words, if we're disturbed by the Lord, that when he says, let's say he puts his kingship in front of you, and you're near to the kingdom, and you're having a conversation with Jesus, maybe for the first time in your life, just like Pilate, let's try to do the right thing. So don't just be near, don't just be disturbed, don't just be amazed, don't just inquire, but actually make an action to inquire for yourself, not for your people and not for others, but for yourself, and believe for yourself. So my prayer today is that we, and maybe unbelievers, would help, Lord, tune our ears to you, to your voice, and make them people of the truth. And for you believers in the audience, help those who are trying to do this yielding. I'm sure it's a difficult, hard thing for them when they're near and they hear and they encounter the truth and they consider Jesus as king. So Lord, for all who are on that bubble like Pilate was, I pray, Lord, help them to get across that river, help them to make the decision, help them to do the right thing, to not just be near, but to yield and to make you king. Thank you for listening, my brothers and sisters. I'll see you tomorrow.